Hello, everyone. My name is Ayobelo, and it's nice to meet you again on this session. Welcome to the GMC virtual meeting. And in subsequent weeks, I will be hosting and sharing so many things with you on how to be a media campaigner and how to get results in advocacy to end female genital mutilation. I'll be bringing on board activists, religious leaders, people with high influence and high interest who have worked so hard to ensure that female genital mutilation becomes history in Nigeria, Africa, and the world at large. With me today is Dr. Wilberforce. Hi, Dr. Wilberforce.
Hello, Ayo Bello. How are you today?
Fine, very well, thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, so to some people who are just watching or hearing about you for the first time, can you kindly introduce yourself, please?
Okay, my name is Dr. Wilberforce Oti. I am a religious leader. Okay. I'm a clergyman. I am a pastor of House of Kings and Priests, but I also lead a group known as Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria in Ebonyi State that is made up of about 400 churches with so many branches. And I'm also a university lecturer. Some time ago, I was invited where I had some training on adverse effects of female genital mutilation. And that opened my eyes to so many things people are going through, which is expected of those of us who are religious leaders to bear our minds, to lend our voices, to make sure that female genital mutilation is a history today. So from that moment till date, I became very passionate on how to end female genital mutilation, not just in my state, Ebonyi, not just in Nigeria, but all over the world, because it is something that we do not need to accommodate in this 21st century.
Wow, that's interesting. That's a lot of profile. But let's come from the religious aspect. Being a pastor, what do you think about female genital mutilation when it comes to religion? Do you think Christianity is in support? And as a religious leader, what's basically your perception about the practice?
Yeah, biblically, there is no verse of the Bible that supports female genital mutilation. When God was speaking to Abraham, he only told him to circumcise his male children. He never mentioned female. I also have, to some extent, did a little study in Quran, and there is no verse in the entire Quran that supports female genital mutilation. However, in Africa, in Nigeria, in my place, Ebonyi State here, female genital mutilation is practiced more like a tradition in which every family is expected, when you give birth to a female child, to subject the child to mutilation. They do so thinking ignorantly that it will curb lasciviousness in a child. It will make the child not to be sexually wild, which they are doing wrongly. And so it is something that we need to stop because of many untold suffering that go with it. So many people that have come to me on counseling have told me how they are not sexually satisfied because their clitoris was cut. They don't know what it means for a woman to have an orgasm. I remember one elderly woman that told me that out of 5 pregnancies she carried, because of female genital mutilation, every time she wants to deliver, they have to cut open and bring the child out. And after that, she has to go through another stitch and healing, which to me was psychological traumatic for her. So with all these things, it is not something for anybody to accept in the context of the society where we are living. Ironically, we must put our efforts together. Just like some time ago, it was invoked for people to kill twins. However, the likes of Mary Slessor came and they stood their ground. And today, killing of twins is no longer acceptable in this part of the world. The same thing can also go with female genital mutilation. Biblically, it is not supported, and there's no scripture that allows any parent to subject their children to that kind of untold difficulty in the name of female genital mutilation.
Wow, so it means basically in Nigeria and in this part of the world, female genital mutilation is more of a cultural and traditional practice and not really a religious practice, right? Yeah, but I know that there are some misconceptions when it comes to religion, and that's why I want to ask that basically, what are the roles that you think religious leaders can play? Do you think religious leaders have lots of influence in ensuring that we end this practice, and how do you think that can work?
For sure, religious leaders actually have the paramount role to play. Reason is because the minds of people are actually framed by religious leaders. I always maintain that people tend to obey religious leaders more than they obey the constitution of the country.
True.
For example, the constitution of the country tells you not to kill. The religious leader can tell you to take a bomb and go for a suicide mission, and you'll obey him. The constitution can tell you, as maybe a Christian, you should not go out for morning cry and go and preach in the streets. But the pastor can tell you, go, nothing will happen, and you will go. So the people tend to obey their priests more than they obey even the constitution of the country. And this is the reason why many in serious programs the government want to enforce, they usually do that through religious leaders. For example, this COVID-19, the government wanted to stop churches from meeting. They have to use religious leaders because once they speak, their members will listen to them. So I believe that religious leaders have significant role to play in end FGM project, because if, for example, a well-known reverend father, a well-known pastor, bishop, comes out in the air, either radio or television, and say that female genital mutilation is a wrong practice, there's a tendency that people will listen to him more than maybe using police to track those who practice it and then maybe imprison them. So they have a lot of role to play. And that is why from the moment I attended that academy, I've been talking to fellow pastors and other priests that we must lend our voice. We shouldn't just live every day teaching people how to make heaven. We should also make them to be comfortable while they are here on earth. Because those little children that have been mutilated, they don't have any voice of their own. They are very tender, and their parents are doing it as a result of ignorance. So we need to educate them.
Okay, but Dr. Wilberforce, why do you think Nigerians are so,
and let them know that this is not a right practice? And I'm 100% certain if pastors, if imams, if all the people that are into religious leadership come together, their voice. Reframe the question, please.
Yeah, I said, why do you think Nigerians are so religious? Why do you think the really old religious leaders in IS team, why are they so religious?
Well, the reason is because to a large extent, they have more confidence in their religious leaders more than they have confidence in their political leaders. If you go to the government is very, very strong institution. You don't need to have money to go to school.
Sure.
The scholarship are there, financial aid are there. So people tend to believe more in their government. But here in Nigeria, due to military rule and a lot of corruption going on, people find succor in their religious leader. If you are sick, you tend to have more confidence in the prayer of a pastor, much more than going to hospital where you don't even have money to pay for your medical bills. So there's a lot of confidence people have in religious leaders because they are the ones people run to when they're in trouble. They're the ones that give people comfort. They're the ones that speak to them from when they were born to when they are dead. So it's an institution that if it's explored very, very well, they will technically roll back the female genital mutilation statistics.
Oh, interesting, interesting. Which means that religious leaders are basically accessible. This is why people have been able to trust them over the time. But what do you think religious leaders can use, particularly with the use of media? How do you think religious leaders can maximize the use of media in ending female genital mutilation in Nigeria?
All right. In my own opinion, letters can be written, emails can be sent. These religious leaders can also hold little conferences in their space of influence where they may actually take time to sensitize the people. And then some of them who are involved in social media can also use that platform where they have a lot of people following them to talk to the people concerning this. And above all, from the pulpit, one can actually speak against female genital mutilation. I do that from time to time. I tell our members it is wrong. It is not something that is acceptable. And then above all, there are measures that religious leaders can put together, and they will communicate to people that this is not the best practice. For example, if a woman and a man has a child and they want to do child dedication, if the pastor insists, if you subject the child to female genital mutilation, then we're not going to dedicate this child for you. You see, the parents will have a rethink because they wouldn't want their own child not to dedicate it to God. Yeah. So there's a lot of ways they can come personally. Periodically, I invite some pastors, I sit them down, I let them know it's our responsibility to save those little babies that are not, they can't speak for themselves. And we can only do this by talking about it from our pulpit. Then those of us who have been in media for years, and people have been listening to us, who have a lot of audience, we can speak about it anytime we come on air. And then when we go to social media, even if you are preaching or you are talking about our Lord Jesus Christ, periodically, you talk about GM as one of the things you can say higher and periodically talk about it. You discover that the awareness will be created and people will most likely obey the voice of their pastors.
Wow, it shows that religious leaders have lots of influence and lots of power in this campaign. And I really hope that they recognize this. Then I also want to ask, are there associations or meetings that bring religious leaders together? Is it possible for religious leaders to have these conversations among themselves before working with other campaigners? Like while having meetings with religious leaders, can FGM, can it be a topic of discussion, or will it be perceived as sort of taboo? While having religious leaders meeting or conference, I don't know if there's an association like that. Is it possible to also bring in this discussion, or everything you discuss is strictly religious issues?
Yeah, actually, the group I belong to, Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, is a group that believes in whatever will help the people need to be accommodated. So at times, when we're having a meeting, somebody may want to come and talk to us about need for security. Other people can come and they want to introduce us to network businesses. Others may come to introduce us to other things that may be helpful. And I want to say that FGM project, it's something that will be acceptable anywhere religious leaders are gathering. Majority of them don't know what people are going through. I use myself for example. For more than 30 years, I've been a pastor, and I didn't know anything about female genital mutilation until somebody invited me, and I heard it firsthand. And then I began to make more research, and I discovered that people are going through a lot because of this. And so I believe if that is an umbrella where every Christian in Nigeria belongs to, if the right authorities are approached, they will give maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes for someone to present whatever he has during their meeting. We do that very often. And once such presentations are done, some people will indicate their interest. And those who include an interest can now form a little team where they can learn more and then move on. And then also, like what happened in Ibadan, where we have some imams, some Christian leaders that came together.
Yeah.
At the end of that training, we form our own WhatsApp group where we encourage one another periodically to remember to talk about FGM in your state, wherever you are. And with that, we've been so united. And anytime we have an opportunity, I can always call one of them who is a Muslim to join me, maybe in the radio, and we discuss about so that Muslims will hear from their imam and Christians can hear from me. And with that, we can now interface and then go about it. So I believe that many Christian forum will listen whenever we want to talk to them about FGM, because it is something that when they come to know that this is one of the things that is going on in the society that is not okay, they will all do their best to make sure that it stops.
Oh, very interesting. I am glad that there are already existing networks. You know, I'm happy that there's been lots of engagement using the media, like the WhatsApp group, the TV, and all of that. So I think we're on track, and it's a right step in right direction. So I'm very glad, and I know that religious leaders will do a lot in ensuring that female genital mutilation becomes history. So to all our viewers and those who are watching, thank you very much. I want to believe that you have learned one or two things from Dr. Wilberforce, Pastor Wilberforce, and I would like you to join us same time next week, where we'll be sharing and learning, trying to deepen our knowledge and broaden our skills. Thank you so much. My name is Ayo. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.